my channel. This is Swift Wellness. I am Ashley, and today we're slowing it down a little bit for a 30-minute post-run strength training workout. This is the ideal cool-down workout for runners to get stronger in those hips, those legs, and work on a little bit of mobility. All of this combined means that you're less prone to injury and you're more efficient, which means less fatigue in that late race. Of course, if you don't have 30 minutes post-run, make sure to check out our channel for 15-minute options. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a single video we upload each week. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's just start this warm-up. We're taking a few deep breaths in this position. So it's just a big inhale into that cow position, and then a big exhale as you exhale that breath around the back, press into the hands. Following that breath, one big inhale as you arch that back, looking towards the sky, feeling the spine warm up. And then a big exhale as you press into the mat. Good, you've got two more deep breaths just like this. Big exhale. One more inhale. And then a big exhale. I want you to go ahead, tuck those toes and pop into a downward facing dog. Sending the head in between those hands and then pedaling out through those knees, sending those hips high, squeezing through the core, just finding your breath here. Again, keeping it really slow, just warming up through the body. Take one more deep breath and we're gonna walk out into a plank. Shifting that weight forward. Again, warming up, hands, shoulders stacked directly. And then you're gonna press those hips back up. We're just gonna alternate through those two positions, shifting that weight back forward into the plank. Exhale as I press the hips, trying to send those heels all the way to the mat. Big inhale as I come back down. Exhale. And inhale, good. Got two more just like this. And on this next one, I want you to drop back into child's pose. We're gonna spin around onto our back. So take one quick child's pose here. Go ahead and spin those heels around, coming all the way down. I want your feet pressed into the mat, letting that lower back arch. Hands go behind your side for support, but I'm gonna hold my hands here so you can see my back. I want you to go through a few pelvic tilts where I take that pelvis, press it down into the mat, squeeze. One big deep breath, and then I want you to relax, arching that back, feeling that pelvis tip forward, and then again, that big breath as you press that lower back into the mat. And then again, exhale. Option, you can always pick those feet up if you want, but I just want you to focus on the engagement through those glutes today and through that hip. And then again, arching and pressing into the mat. Good, on that next one, I want you to hold that engagement, press that lower back into the mat, press the hips up, squeeze. For 3, and then you're gonna drop down to the mat, bring those knees into the chest in 2, and 1. Go ahead, drop it down, hug the knees into the chest, and then sitting all the way up. We're gonna start with a series of hip openers today, so I want you to come and walk out into that hands and knees position. Again, holding the core tight. Those pelvic tucks that we just did, I want you to hold that pelvis tight, core in one line, shoulders stacked right over the hands. We're gonna take that foot and flex it, starting on the left side. We're gonna pull that knee all the way up, and we're gonna make a large hip circle coming all the way around. So again, it's all the way up and around. So focus on pushing pushing that pelvis forward, holding in that core. That's why we did those pelvic tilts to start. And of course here, as I lift up that left knee, you're gonna find that it's easy to dump into that right side. So I want you to go ahead and place that left hand into the mat, fingertips only on that right side. And so as I come all the way up, I press my weight into that left hand, and that prevents me from tipping into that right side. Of course, as you grow stronger with this movement, you could always place a dumbbell behind this knee. But of course, this is perfectly fine. And of course, if you need a modification, we just simply reduce the size of that hip circle today. Whatever feels good for you, I want you to keep that core engagement. I want you to keep everything in one long line. Focus on squeezing through that pelvis, through those abs. Going around one more time, we're just opening up those hips. We're gonna switch to the right side. In one last hip circle. Drop that knee down, take those fingertips, that same positioning, fingertips only, flex that right foot, coming up again, opening into that big hip circle, and then coming around, all the way up, and around, squeezing again through that core. If you want the added challenge, take that left hand, bring it to your right shoulder, that adds that level of balance, good, squeezing, holding that core, good. All the way up and around, good. Fingertips or balance, whatever feels good for you today. Working on mobility through these hips, strengthening that gluteus medius that is so weak in runners, good. You've got 15 seconds here, and then we're gonna drop that right knee to the ground, good. Focus on not holding your breath here. Big exhale as you come up and around. And then a big inhale. Good. Finish this circle. Set those knees onto the ground. We're gonna go into some bird dogs today. So again, holding that core nice and tight. Shoulders directly over the wrist. Taking that big inhale and then exhale as I extend that opposite arm, opposite leg. And then bringing that knee and that elbow together, not worrying about touching, because I want to keep my core nice and tight and in one long line. And then extend that arm and that leg one more time, bringing it into center and out. So watching that you don't arch through that back. Again, I'm pressing that pelvis forward, I'm squeezing that glute just like we engaged the beginning in that intro, bringing it in and out. Again, extend and exhale. Inhale as you come to center and exhale. Good, you've got it. Just holding again nice and tight. Again, focused on that pelvis, focused on that core. Good, you've got 2 more. And then we're gonna switch sides. Good, and extend long. Bring that hand and knee down, and again, finding that rock in the pelvis, engaging as I extend that left long right leg, bringing it back to center, and then extending long, big exhale, big inhale as I bring it in, good. Of course, as you grow stronger in this position, you can always take a dumbbell in that reaching hand, adds a little bit more challenge to your core, to your stability as you're weighted in the front. Good, you've got just under 15 seconds. Squeezing, making sure that you're not arching through that back. We'll drop that knee in 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead, drop that knee. We're setting up just like those hip circles to start. Flex that left foot. We're switching back to the opposite side. Going into donkey kicks, holding that core, making sure we don't arch the back as we flex the foot and send that sole of the foot to the top of the ceiling. Keeping that core engaged, that quad parallel with the floor, and then bringing it back in one long line, and then pressing it straight back up. Think about really squeezing the glute at the top, finding that highest point that you can still control. Just like with the hip circles, if you need to, you can always take those fingers to position yourself so that you don't dump into that opposite hand. Or you can take that balance challenge with that right arm to that left shoulder. Whatever you feel works best for you. And of course, as you grow stronger, you can always place that weight behind that knee. Good, you're here for about 10 more seconds. We're gonna switch to the opposite side. Continuing in that same movement, pressing that hip up, pressing the sole of the foot straight to the ceiling. Good, it's 3, 2, and switch. Again, switching that position, taking those fingertips so that you don't dump into that side. Good, pressing up and back down, not rushing it, not letting your back arch, holding your core. Really focus on squeezing the glutes at the top. Press and lower. Again, not focused on speed here. Really focus on squeezing, feeling every muscle in the glutes, in the thigh. Good. You've got it. Just pressing up and down. Watching that that weight doesn't tip you into that left side. Good, you've got it. You've got 5, you've got 4, 3, and you drop that knee, 2, and drop. Going right into some fire hydrants. We're opening up to the side, same positions, shoulder over wrist, hip over knee, core engaged, pelvis tilted forward, opening to the side, and then bringing it back down. Open and close. So it's really easy in this position to let those knees get off of alignment. So I want you to focus not on the height of that knee, but making sure the knees always come back to the same center point and that they meet each other. So as you lift and lower, you're focused on the muscles of that gluteus medius. That's your side seat. That is your stabilizer when you're running. Probably one of the notoriously weak muscles in runners. Something that tends to cause us far too much injury. Good. Pressing up. We've got 10 seconds. We're switching to the opposite side. Good. It's 3. It's 2, and 1. Good, go ahead, drop that knee, switch those fingertips, and we're going to the right side. Again, knees in one long line, squeezing, not focused on height here. Of course, as always, if you get stronger, you can take that dumbbell behind the knee. You could add a mini band over the knee. That gives you a little added resistance, regardless of what feels good here today. Good. Finishing out in 15 seconds. We're gonna go ahead and lay down on our left side after this. Good. 3, and 2, and 1. Good. Go ahead, actually go down to your right side so we can work the left leg. I'm gonna stretch out long, taking that right hand behind my neck, looking at my shape and my positioning here. My hip is stacked, my knees are stacked, my heels, my fingertips, everything is stacked. Using this top hand as a stabilizer, as a support, I'm gonna lift and lower this leg up and down, making sure that this hip stays stacked, that it doesn't roll back. Then I press it forward, take that hand for an extra stabilizer. So of course, as you grow stronger, you can always add that mini band over the knees for added resistance. And if you need a modification, I always suggest laying up against a wall. That way you can trace the heel and you don't let those hips roll back. It's a great way to build strength if you're just starting out. Good, keep those toes pointed forward. We're gonna change the angle in just a minute. Good. Just breathing through, finding that stacked position, squeezing through that glute, feeling that side seat burn. Good. In 3, I want you to turn those toes down, keep the legs in one long line. 2 and 1. I'm going to turn that toe to the center. So my big toe is touching my arch each time it comes down. So it's a slight variation of that leg lift. Slight internal rotation works a slightly different part of the glutes. Good. If you find that you can't turn your toe this much, that's okay. Work on what you can do, and then work to be able to fully rotate that leg so that you can turn that toe into the arch. Good. We've got 2 more that I want you to rotate that leg externally and point that toe towards the sky. Good. So on that next one, I want you to go ahead, turn, rotate that leg, point the toes towards the sky, and come back down. So now the heel is coming to the arch of my lower leg. Again, externally rotating the hip. You probably will find this to be the most challenging of any of the leg lifts. But again, working a slightly different segment. Good. You've got 3. We're going to roll over onto the other side and do this same set. 2 and 1. Good. Go ahead, switch sides, bring that right leg to the top. Left hand behind the head. Make sure that you are stacked before you begin. Hip, knees, toes, everything in one line. Lifting those toes and then lowering. So up and down. Good. Squeezing, again, not focus on the height here, just keeping those toes pointed forwards. Good. Lift and lower. We've got about 10 seconds and we'll turn that toe down. Good. Up. 5. We're turning that toe down in 3, 2, and 1. Again, turn that toe down so that big toe touches the arch on each lift and lower, internally rotating that leg. Making sure you're not holding your breath here, just tapping and lowering. So we're gonna switch to some core and lower ab work after this set, so I promise I'll give your glutes a rest. So in 3, we're turning that toe towards the sky. 2, and again, that heel comes to the arch and lower. So you might find that you have one leg that opens, that rotates, that works just a little bit better than the other, which is fine. We are not symmetrical beings. Good. Lift and lower. You've got the last 10 seconds. We're gonna roll over onto our back. 3, good, it's 2 and 1. Go ahead, roll onto our backs. Pull the knees into the chest for a really quick stretch. And then I want you to send those knees out to 90 degrees. Flexing those feet. We're gonna go into some dead bugs. So pressing that lower back into the ground just like we did in the pelvic tilts to start. Chest and arms directly in one long line. I'm gonna extend my right arm and my left leg, nothing else moves. Squeezing through the core, making sure that my back never arches. Coming back to center, left arm and right leg again extends, finding just your lowest point that you can keep your low back on the ground and your core engaged. Good. You've got here again pulling all the way, stretching that right arm, that left leg. Big exhale as you lengthen. Good. Big inhale as you come back to center. Exhale and inhale. Just finding that length through the spine. The control here is the most important. It's not how low you can go. Good. Squeeze. Good. You've got one more on each side. Extending long. Good. And last one. Good. You can go ahead and extend your legs long. You have two options here in this flutter kick. Palms can go into the ground and head, neck, and shoulders can come onto the ground. Press your lower back into the mat. And we're going into little flutter kicks here. So I want you to find the lowest point that you can keep that low back on the ground. Optionally, you can raise the head, neck, and shoulders for an added low ab challenge here. So we're just warming up through the hip flexors, strengthening those low abs. So doesn't matter, again, I don't care how long your legs can go, move quickly here. You're only here for 15 seconds. This is by far the shortest exercise of the entire class. Just warming up those hip flexors. Good, you've got 7, 6. We're rolling over onto our stomachs in 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good, go ahead and roll over, meet me in a plank. Taking those hands at an 11, I'm holding into that forearm plank. Again, tipping that pelvis down, squeezing the glutes. I'm gonna start on that left leg. I'm gonna take that left leg long in a lift, lower, lift. So again, I'm holding that core tight, keeping that glute engagement, squeezing the glutes at the top, lower. You can always modify this by dropping that right knee, lift, and lower. And again, you can always walk it up to the hands if you need a little extra stability. It makes it more challenging on your forearms. Key here again is as you lift, no arch in the back. You're pressing that pelvis forward, keeping that core engagement, the lift and the lower. Good. 5 seconds and we're gonna switch sides. Good. It's 3, it's 2, and 1. Go ahead, either set that knee down or switch the legs in that plank. Good. Again, it's a lift and a lower. Focus on that line right where the hamstring meets the glute, squeezing that glute at the top. So the lift and the lower. Making sure not to hold your breath in the planks. I know that they're challenging. Good. Big, deep inhales and big, deep exhales today. Again, moving slowly. This is not a speed workout. We're focused on strengthening. We're gonna roll over onto our right side so we can go back to that left side. We're rolling over to do a side plank today in 3, 2, and 1. Good, go ahead, spin it around. Take that forearm into the ground, make a fist for added stability. Check your positioning. Are your hips, your knees, your ankles all in one line? If they are, I want you to pop up onto that side plank, finding the length and height here in that side body. From there, once you find that stable position, I want you to lift and lower that top leg. So again, it's a lift and lower. Holding that core, don't let your hips rotate backwards. Squeeze, lift, and lower. Of course, your modification looks like this. Take that bottom knee, drop it to the mat, press up, make sure you keep this space from the mat, lift and lower here. Of course, always, if you want that added challenge as you grow stronger, take that mini band, place it over the knees. Good. Focus again on that glute, but really focus on those obliques here, that core. Everything is in one long line. Good, you're squeezing. Good. Really focus on those glutes here. So whether you are in that modified position or you are in that side plank, good. You've got 5. We're rolling over in 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead, spin it around. Left forearm goes into the mat, make a fist. Before you ever pop up into that side plank, check your positioning. So your hips, your knees, and your ankles are in one long line today. Lift and lower. So lift and lower, good. Of course, your modification, again, as on the other side, was dropping that bottom knee, pressing those hips up, lift and lower. Good, you're squeezing. We've got one more ab exercise today, and then we're finishing out with a round of mobility. something that we don't add into a lot of these workouts, but something that as runners we desperately need. Good, you've got 3, you've got 2, you're rolling over onto your stomach, stretching out long, legs long, arms long, deep breath. We're going into some Supermans today. So arms extend, legs extend. On that big exhale, I want you to raise those head, neck, and shoulders up off the mat. Legs lift, chest lifts. And then on your inhale, I want you to come all the way back down. Height will come in time as you grow stronger. I want you to focus on engaging that lower back, lifting through the chest, pulling those quads up off the mat, and then releasing back down. With each lift, I want you to try to get a little bit higher here, and then lower. You are not here for very much longer, so really try to fight for each millimeter, each centimeter as you pull all the way up, and you come back down. Again, engaging that core, pulling that head, neck, and shoulders off the mat. Good, you've got 1 more big exhale as you extend. Coming back to the mat, we are gonna finish off with some mobility today. So again, focus on your range of motion. Don't necessarily focus on mine. I want you guys to all find that positioning that is best for you. So we're gonna start off with some hip openers today. So starting in that plank position, I want you to step that left foot forward to that left pinky, keeping that back knee off of the mat. And then we're gonna take that left hand and press into that left knee, opening up through the hip and sending that right hip flexor down, feeling a big stretch here. So keeping my hands on the mat, I'm gonna sink my weight back and forward. And as I go forward, I'm gonna press that knee out and then shift back and bring that knee back into center. So as I shift forward, really opening up that hip, feeling that right hip flexor stretch, not placing that knee onto the mat, coming back forward, really exhaling each time you reach forward and sink into that hip, trying to get a little bit farther each time. Good, taking that deep breath, exhaling as you press down into that hip. Good, I want you to give me 1 more good one before we switch to the other side. And walk it back out to that plank, taking that right foot to that right pinky. Again, opening up, pressing away into that knee, pressing it out and away, sinking it down into that stretch. On that exhale, inhale as I pull my body back up. As I exhale, I press that knee open and I sink down into that stretch for that hip opener. Coming back to center. Not rushing here. I want you to kind of find your own depth. Good, you've got 10 seconds, and then we're gonna go back into that plank position. Good, you've got it. Good, walk it back out to that plank. Shake those hips out. We're gonna take that left foot, we're gonna walk it up to that left pinky yet again. This time we're gonna drop that back right knee, toe points long, and we're gonna sink down into that runner's lunge. So you have a few options here. You can pull that head, neck, and shoulders straight up off the mat. Arms go overhead as I sink down into that right hip flexor. If you find that you can't balance here, that's okay. Just take yourself up onto those pinkies, up onto those fingertips, pulling that chest up, taking those deep breaths, sinking farther on each exhale into that right hip flexor. Optionally, you can open into a big twist, turning my chest towards that knee, coming back to center, reaching all the way up, coming back to center, and you have 1 more, then I want you to tuck those toes and step that foot back to that plank, opening up that right side by stepping that right foot to that right pinky, dropping that left knee, flexing and pointing that back toe, walking up to your fingertips again, optionally coming all the way up, sinking into that hip flexor, adding in that twist if you would like. Feeling that good spinal rotation. Coming back to center, reaching up and back down. Good, you've got 2 more. Just flowing with your breath here. Big exhale as you twist. Big inhale as you come back to center. Walking it back out into that plank. I want you to sink briefly back into child's pose before we go into our squat today. Open up those hips one last time. Stretch those fingertips long. So in these squats, I want you to find your lowest point. So where my lowest point is may not be yours, and that's okay. This is why we're doing this mobility drill. So I want you to turn your toes out and find your lowest squat. So for me, I can come all the way down, keeping that chest tall, keeping those knees open, toes pointed outwards. So my weight is in my heels, so I should be able to put my fingers underneath my toes. Maybe you're up higher, that's okay. I just want you to focus on your heels and your weight being in the back of your body. So if you're here, take those elbows, press them into those knees, and take that deep breath. So I'm just focused on opening up through that hip, finding that lowest squat, and taking those deep breaths. If this is easy for you, I want you to take that hand to the mat, and I want you to reach up to the sky with the opposite hand, always pressing that opposite elbow into that knee to keep that strength. Coming back to center, reaching up. Always, again, flowing with your breath, taking that deep inhale as you come down, exhale as you extend that hand long. 1 more on each side. Good, you've got it. Good, come back to center, and I want you to stay in this squat position. We're gonna extend our left leg long. So I want you to walk it out. Toes point towards the sky. Again, we're stretching out, opening up that hip, working on that inner thigh. So if you can't get this low, that's okay. Again, weight in your heels. But I want you to take your fingertips towards the center as you alternate into that side lunge, keeping the weight in the heels. So from here, as I alternate, rotating those toes towards the sky, and then coming back to center. Again, rotating those toes towards the sky. Big exhale as I sink down into that deep lunge. Big inhale as I transfer my weight to the other side. Good, you've got it. You're just twisting it back and forth. Again, you might find that you have one leg that opens a little bit more than the other, but we're working on that rotation and all of those stabilizers here. Good. I want you to give me 1 more on each side. Your hips should feel very warm at this point. Good, you've got it. Taking that center position, I want you to roll onto your back for the last exercise of class. We're finishing out with glute bridges today, starting in that wide frog position. So taking those heels together, toes apart. I want to press those knees open wide, palms into the ground, press your glutes up and squeeze, and come back down, keeping those hips wide. Good. You're only here for 15 more seconds. Squeezing all the way. We're not here for very long. I just want to flush out everything that you did for those hips. Good. Just squeeze. Rotate through that pelvis, always relaxing. Good. You've got 2 more, and then we're going to hug our knees into the chest. And then we're going to finish that cool down today. Press up, hold. 3, 2, and 1. Drop it down, knees into the chest. Go ahead and extend your arms, your legs long. Feel that length as you point the toes and you reach your toes and your fingertips all the way to the opposite sides of the room. Take 1 more deep breath, and we're gonna go into some happy baby. Taking those feet up, grabbing the outsides of those feet, pressing the elbows open into the insides of the knee, and then rocking gently back and forth. feeling those hips stretch out even more after we work them today. Find that deep breath as you just rock back and forth. We'll go into a figure 4 stretch by taking that left heel over that right knee, opening up, pressing away with that knee, interlacing your fingers behind that right hamstring and pulling down into the chest, keeping that tension on that knee. Optionally, you can take that elbow. Feeling that left glute stretch. If you want to stretch out that right hamstring, you can take your leg long, pulling on each big exhale a little bit closer to your center. One more deep breath and we'll switch sides. Taking that right heel over that left knee, interlace the hands behind the left hamstring and sink into that stretch. Taking 2 more deep breaths, and then we'll finish class by hugging our knees into the chest. Take those knees, pull them all the way into the chest. Rock from side to side to massage that lower back. One last deep breath. Great work today, guys. I hope that this workout routine is something that you can incorporate into your post-run weekly schedule. This is one of the best ways to prevent injury, grow stronger, increase your endurance, and ultimately become a better runner. Of course, I want to know how it went for you. Tell me in the comments below, did you take any of the added challenges? Did you need the modifications? Let me know so I can continue to make the best possible workout for you. And as always, make sure to share our channel with your friends and like and subscribe so you don't miss a single video we upload each week. Have a great day.